I'm going to introduce my panelists now while I have the microphone. I'm your chair, Gabrielle Hosein. I'm a lecturer at the Institute for Gender and Development Studies, and I'm very, very pleased to have such a great cross-section of people gathered here today. One of our first speakers this evening is not here yet, but we're starting. The first person who will be speaking this evening is Jowelle de Souza, who is a parliamentary candidate in San Fernando West, and who I'm very glad agreed to come and speak this evening. After that, Senator Khadijah Ameen, who is no stranger to the IGDS, having presented on a panel we had in March, who is also acting chairperson of the United National Congress. Ms. Sabrina Mowlah-Baksh, former Deputy Mayor of the San Fernando City Corporation and a UNC political activist. Sabrina also completed her MSc with us on women and politics. I was a supervisor. She got an A. We're very proud to have IGDS students able to bring both their lived experience and their academic analysis to the table. Ms. Nafeesa Mohammed, former deputy political leader of the People's National Movement, again, also not a stranger to challenging gender boundaries. Ms. Terry Ince of the network of NGOs of Trinidad and Tobago for the advancement of women, with their work with the Trinidad and Tobago Institute for Women in Leadership. Luke Sinnett, who will be discussing some of the recent work of Allies for Justice and Diversity, and when he comes in, Mr. Colin Robinson. Why did we bring you all here today? This forum follows a series of the transformation of masculinities and the challenge to institutionalize masculinism or patriarchy, which often finds expression in, among other things, sexism and homophobia in and out of the state. The Politics, Power, and Gender Justice Project produced 9 research reports on 4 feminist strategies to advance gender justice. Those 4 feminist strategies were national gender policies, women's political leadership, electoral quota systems, and transformational leadership. And these were examined as historical and regional strategies and struggles, but their focus was given to their effects, especially in Dominica and Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and St. Lucia. And our IGDS staff member, Ms. Deborah McPhee, who's our outreach and research officer, wrote the chapter on the regional review of the struggle around national gender policies in the region. All the reports are available on our website, and an edited collection that theorizes their core findings will be published in 2016. Now, in Trinidad and Tobago, the national case study of women's political leadership especially focused on gender and campaigning. And this forum is part of our continuing effort to document the lived realities of how notions of masculinity, femininity, and heteronormativity, or the idea that heterosexuality is normal and normative, shape political life. Our past activities on this theme have been a public lecture by Dr. Martina Riker, Director of the Institute for Gender and Women's Studies at the American University in Cairo. That was in March 2012. A women's conversation and policy roundtable on women, politics, and activism held in collaboration with WINAD, also in 2012. Click Power, which was an online photographic exhibition and archive begun by this project to collect images of women's political participation. You will be surprised. You can see images of, African women voting with a baby on their back, or Indian women in panchayats. But the visual archive of Caribbean women's participation in politics is actually very thin. And an IGDS forum, Women and Political Power, A Right to Lead, held in March 2014. Finally, there was a discussion on women in politics held as part of the Fearless Politics, The Life and Times of Hazel Brown conference. Hazel Brown is here, indefatigable as always, which was held in March 2015. So that's the history to bringing you all here today, which is a long-standing interest in documenting how a variety of persons engage issues of gender and sexuality, how it shapes media and public debates and personal experiences. And that's what we're focusing on in the discussion of the 2015 election campaign. Now, typically in feminist post-election discussions, because there's so many, emphasis is placed on understanding women's experiences of election campaigning and reflecting on strategies such as the Women's Manifesto or the Women's Cross-Party Caucus, which Terry will be doing today. However, this time, and this is important, we are also bringing LGBTI, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered, intersex, and men's experiences and electoral activism to the same table to broaden our understandings of the connections amongst a variety of those seeking office and seeking to influence the issues raised in and beyond elections. We want to build on the efforts of organizations like the network to bring women together across political divides. And it's really in the women's movement that you see that very rare thing, which is women from the People's National Movement and the United Congress at the same table together. Which is how we have Khadijah, Ameen, for example, Nafeesa Mohammed, and Sabrina Mowlah-Baksh. The IGDS also wants to create a safe space that encourages openness about the challenges to equal citizenship, to encourage us to think about politics beyond the polls and the numbers, and to see multiple kinds of margins in our landscape. And this is why Colin Robinson, welcome Colin, and Luke Sinnett are here tonight. Our panelists were asked to talk about the ways that sexism and homophobia shaped what happened in the media, discussions and debates of candidates, their specific experiences and those of women, men, and transgender persons, the policing of masculinity and its implications for men, male candidates, the advocacy of civil society groups such as Allies for Justice and Diversity, which created a 2015 manifesto, and the network of NGOs, which continues their work, certainly in the long picture over 40 years, but certainly over the last 20 years of manifestos, supporting candidates, and so on, and advocating for transformational leadership. For myself, I first encountered the process of making a women's manifesto in 1995, and I feel very proud that an LGBTI manifesto is also now on the table, coming from civil society, not waiting to have manifestos come to us, and to have seen that develop over the last 20 years. The IGDS hopes to strengthen the alliance between the women's movement and the LGBTI movement, while tonight reflecting on gender and campaigning in the election. I want to put on record that the staff of the Institute have spent the last 10 years at least advocating continuously for the need for equality and freedom from all forms of discrimination for all persons, regardless of their sex, their gender, or their sexual orientation, and we continue those efforts. For us, sexism cannot be ended without also ending homophobia, and the project of advancing democracy requires us to fearlessly document, understand, and challenge an unjust status quo. On election night, Dr. Keith Rowley reminded us that he is Prime Minister of us all, and that we are all in this together. I want to thank our panelists for this evening who have come together, I hope, fearlessly across a range of divides. I also want to thank the staff of the Institute, especially Professor Patricia Mohammed, who let us run with this, Catherine Chan, Dr. Angelique Nixon, and the administrative staff, Asha Innes, Whitney Katwaru, and Tanil Fanovich, as well as all of the staff of the Institute for their support. This evening, let us critically reflect on how elections show us continuing aspirations for an equal place and assess together, here, collectively, what being in all this together should mean for our place in politics in our nation. As Colin Robinson is here with us now, Colin, you have the floor. Thank you and welcome, everyone.